Test. Can you hear me? I don't think my audio is gonna be that good in the stream, but welcome in, guys. Welcome in. As you can see, this is gonna be a really weird stream that I decided to screw up. So it's like, we're doing a stream today. And this is a very, very unscheduled stream as current Kappa fashion where I'm playing in VR, psvr 1 on streams. As you can see, sort of vibing. I can't really read chat at the moment either, which is the sad part, but we're vibing. Just behave, please. Please, please. I don't want you guys to do anything bad while I'm watching. Yeah, we're watching it every once in a while, but yeah, as a warning, I just want you guys to know that I have no idea how long this stream's gonna go, all of that, but I do need to mute that. We will be going. We don't have I don't plan to. Literally, I wanted to stream. I know I've been on a dry stream, so I wanted to stream. Streams and streams. We're doing VSVR, which means there's a couple of dreams I had in mind that I will unfortunately be playing one of them, which I don't really want to play, but I know it's a big dream, and I kind of wanted to see how it is in VR. So, yeah, we're doing a lot of messing around today. I'm probably going to be done before noon, so it'll be at least around 2 hours stream at the most, I think. Who knows? I want to do more of this. I have some experiments I want to do in VR. I got plugged in again, so we're doing it. So, yeah. Happy, Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, folks. You gotta be careful. This is actually my countdown to Hey, Shadow! Shadow! Get out of here, Shadow! Yeah. This is one of those streams that I don't want to. I'm not big in horror, if you guys are aware. I know this is a big thing, and I'm glad that someone did this. That's what I'm saying. I'm glad someone made this. I love the idea that people remake these things. I just can't see myself getting to horror. I had this whole topic of cash in the strip yesterday, and yeah, we're gonna check it out. And I want to play immersive, so I'm gonna play this nightmare of a game for a bit. I don't really know what to expect. Really want to get jump scared by it, but you guys get to see it. You get to see the screensaver. Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is a nice screensaver, guys. I can see the portal from here. No, that. We're gonna play a bit of this and we'll go from there. Do that. Only me and me are should only you with you. Oh, yeah. PTY. I did this to me. I don't think this is right, guys. I don't think it's supposed to be down here. Thank God. I wasn't going to break my TV today, folks. Totally.
Purchased a rifle used in the crime at his local gun store 2 days earlier. This brutal killing took place while the family was gathered at home on a Sunday afternoon. retrieved the rifle and shot his wife as she was cleaning up the kitchen after lunch. When his 10-year-old son came to investigate the commotion, the father shot him too. His 6-year-old daughter had the good sense to hide in the bathroom, but reports suggest he lured her out by telling her it was just a game. The girl was found shot once in the chest from point-blank range. The mother, who he shot in the stomach, was pregnant at the time. Police arriving on scene after neighbors called 911 found the father in his car, listening to the radio. Several days before the murders, neighbors say they heard the father repeating a sequence of numbers in a loud voice. They said it was like he was chanting some strange spell. There was another family shot to death in the same state last month.
I have a bad feeling about this. I have a bad feeling about this, folks. Where am I supposed to go? I haven't played this game before. It looks good for a dreams game, I'm not gonna lie about that one, but I don't really know where we should be going. Oh, brother. Doors open again. Here we go again. Oh god. Just keep moving forward, folks. There's nothing to fear. Again? Oh god! Oh, that's very reassuring, guys. That's very reassuring. I've read it. Very reassuring, folks. Very reassuring. Very, very reassuring. It just gives me goosebumps. It doesn't scare me in the slightest, it just gives me goosebumps. Yeah, totally. I said totally, folks. Totally. Are these image recorded? They look image recorded. But yeah, I know that. If they did, that's a good. They did a good job. I can see that. Oh. Hi there. I'm just going to keep on going forward. Expecting to die. I don't know why I'm like about to be jump scared. Like, I know I'm about to be jump scared eventually. It's just, I get it. I feel it. Like, I can just sense it. Not even sense curious. I have motion controllers. They're one of them is they're just not charged. They have to be charged. But once I'm probably gonna make some of that once I get there. Just very high, you have to use those. On PS5, you can't use PS5 controller because I think there's something else. But I would have used the PS3 controllers if I could, just so I could have like 2 controllers. But if I want to do anything with like dual controllers, I might have to get another piece. I don't know, it might not be worth it right now. It's a big. I think we're gonna start talking screen. I'm not really sure what he's doing. Oh, guys, bye. I'm not just kidding. I'm not scared. I know I'm gonna be scared. I know once I do something, I'm gonna be jump scared to bloody Mary. Blood. It's not it's just I know it's coming. I just don't know when it's. That's the threat, guys. That's okay. Forgive me, Lisa. There's an ancestor. There's a monster sick inside of me. Oh god. That's oh, this isn't even concerning. It's just dark. Are you okay?
Took place while the family was gathered at home on a Sunday afternoon. Don't touch that dial now. We're just getting started.
Why do they have such a...
The son came to investigate the commotion. The father shot him too. His 6-year-old...
Never mind, that didn't scare me. I don't think it was because of me. Really accept that, okay, guys? Is it restarting? Actually, I don't really know what happened, but I played this like once. It was admittedly not the original version. It was like Computer Garage. And you know, I don't know what to feel about this, okay? This is experience. If you're in VR, you should definitely experience it. But I'm definitely going to get back out of that and run for my life then. Yeah. Yeah. Good job to the folks that made that, because they did make it a remake. Yes, but I can't see myself playing that more. I can't. I'm just gonna watch this and play this now. Oh, this is cool. Okay, so it's like a supplement. That's cool. That's a cool game. Little game there. Wait. You can watch this in VR.
Let's go gambling! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang
It's
it!
kind of hard for you to play this in VR when the
Aw,
screen is
dang
just like
it!
this.
Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it!
Yeah, I don't think this is meant to be in VR. No, that was fun. That was a little... That was cool. Sunshine Lightly Steps, wow. Yeah, there's one game. No, I don't know. It doesn't have VR, but I personally like to see this in VR, which I'm not totally foreshadowing or anything might happen. We'll figure that out. We're playing Terminator Make My Catch, once again on this stream. On this stream, we're playing it in VR. It's not supported, but we can still enjoy this in VR. And get jump scared by less scary things, aka a cockroach that somehow gets scared in the path off stream. Don't ask. Don't ask. Don't ask.
Hey, I just finished the shopping. I'll be home in 10 minutes, okay? Oh, and I don't have my keys, so you have to let me in. See you soon.
So the point of this game, guys. Hey, Andrew. I think that I broke this game. Hey, it's Andrew from being addicted. That's he literally said that's content. It didn't. But yeah, if you guys are curious, this game is Catch's other game I'm doing that isn't really CNR. It's not CNR related. It's a game that's pretty much about waiting 10 minutes for Cash, or the guy, your roommate, to come home with groceries. And just so happens, the power of it. You know, what could possibly go wrong if you never played this game? It's been out, you know, it's a cool little game. I like it because it's not, you know, I like it because it's different, you know? I like, and also you could easily turn it into VR. I feel like if you simply by giving like, you know, give like a handball controller, it could like, you know, could easily do stuff that right, can knock over said. You know, there's some things you can mess with that. But pretty much you have to, the biggest issue with this is you can't really see how you're doing because of how you, because how the UI and stuff, right, like I'm saying, you could literally, the idea for a game like this would be cool because then you could look at your handles and do that and stuff. But you pretty much have to survive 10 minutes by checking your sanity and doing tasks. That's the monster! That's your monster there, folks. But you pretty much have to dodge it without losing your sanity. And unfortunately, I'm probably gonna lose my sanity if I'm not really used to playing this game that much in general. Hi, monster! Don't kill me. This is a big one. Ooh, it's cold out here. Use the breaker. Oh, I'm gonna be dead. 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 I feel like I'm so unused to having Andrew be the character here. Like, you don't ever see Andrew. Oh, bye, guys. I'm screwed. No, I don't think I have the camera set up right for it. But, that was fun. That was a little fun. It's always nice replaying that game. I'm not gonna lie, it's always fun playing that game, even though it's not meant to be in VR. I like Mothman. Like, this game is great because it's hard. That's the fun part of that game. So I will say that. Now, I have the garbage. Alright. I'm gonna try to look for heck is this? I don't know if I want to watch that one, folks, but I want to look at that one also. There's a monster in that suit. Coaster. Remix webbed. Games for fun. The king of the kingdom. Blue instrument. I'm looking for something that isn't going there. Apparently. Particularly, let's play this. There's elements of heavy static. Some of these elements should hurt the eyes, should average, but better be safe. If you cannot play this, perhaps check out that. I think I played this in non-VR, which is cool. I'm thinking I remember it. But pretty much the goal of this game, I believe, is to just... I don't actually know how I could tell it's in VR. Actually, never mind. I do remember playing that, but I don't remember how to control that one in VR. So... Oh yeah. Well, I think it was this one actually. I think it might have been. It's one of these lever-based ones. But maybe this one. Experience. Oh god. God, that's so bad. Nice. Just partnering with I don't think it's exactly. Works because you're meant to be jumping up there, and I don't really think that's happening. That's fine, I guess. Yeah. Make white. Oh my gosh, that's cool. Bro, ball simulator, oh no. I have a bad feeling I know what this guy's from. Is this no, this isn't the walking game guy. Oh no, this isn't the walking game guy, I think. No, it isn't. I do want to see this. I do want to see them throw a ball. I want to see how accurate it is to throwing balls. Literally, it's just. That's kind of sound. Look at that ball go! Ball go! Hey, bro, watch out. I don't want to get by that. This ball is going to be here all day, I can tell. That ball's not gonna stop. Come on, guys. Come on, stop. Stop that ball. Come on. What did I do? It's not that much. Once I get the 100, I'm just gonna quit. I'll be honest. Alright, that was a good one. That was a little fun. That was fun. That was fun. I'm going to play. I want to check something. I'm just going to check something, guys. I'm not. I'll be honest. I don't think it will change anything because of this. There is a goal I wanted to do on camera, which is what I'm still doing it. I just need to make sure some things. But today we're gonna play CNR1 again. Actually, not this account though. But I'm going to check on my other account if somehow I did something that works. I doubt it, admittedly, but I want to see it. Like how I want to just double check once I get past the screen again. I already did this. I thought. Okay. You know. Well, that didn't work out. Hold on. I'm not gonna try that right now. So guys, here's the deal. I'm gonna be wrapping up stream right now. As I said, it's been scheduled, wrap quick, all that. I wanted to stream all of this just so I could. I don't know if I'm gonna be streaming later or the rest of it, and I'm probably skipping raid. I just wanted to do a little quick stream. I know I've been slacking in that regard, and I have the psvr scener stream stuff I want to do eventually. There will be more streams this month, obviously, but yeah, I've been dealing with a lot of mental stuff and a lot of life stuff, but we're doing all right, and I wanted to do this, so I'm gonna be wrapping up. I appreciate everyone being here, and Sally bye, and the VOD will be up probably later. So thanks for coming by. I'm gonna head out and bye. I really should change that image.